All right, back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO. Joining me on the phones right now, U.S. Senator, the senior senator from the great state of Texas, Senator
Hello.
John Cornyn. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chad. Good to be with you.
Glad to have you here on the show. Okay, let's go back to Obamacare. We've got a lot to talk about. What happened? There were, you included, there was optimism, and then it just all fell apart. Kind of take us behind the scenes as much as you can between if there were negotiations, if there was discussions between yourself and Senator McCain and some of the others who voted no. What happened?
Well, in the end, we fell one vote short, which was pretty obvious. But I want to reassure you, Chad, that our efforts are not ending with this. It's the Obamacare markets are in meltdown. Premiums are skyrocketing, and we're going to have to keep at it. But to answer your question, we had endless discussions and negotiations. With Senator McCain's permission, I called the governor of Arizona to talk him through what we were trying to do. It became obvious that the Senate wasn't going to be able to pass a bill like as big as the House had passed, but what our goal was, our targeted effort was to get the bill to a conference committee with the House and cobble together the 50-plus votes we needed in the Senate to do that, and to ultimately come out with a bill that would keep the commitment that we made to repeal and replace Obamacare. But we were challenged, to say the least, by the fact that our Democratic colleagues, even though they understand the problems that the failures of Obamacare have created in their own states, they basically refused to do anything about it and sat on their hands, and leaving us with just 52 senators to try to make this happen. And obviously the math is pretty obvious. If you have 52 and you lose 3, you're at 49, and that's what happened to us. But I assure you, we're not giving up. We can't give up. There are too many people that are being harmed by the status quo to do that.
There was an article that came out, I believe it was, if it wasn't earlier this week, then it was last week, that said there are about 12 legislative days before insurance companies finalize all of their pricing and everything else for the year. Is there time for Congress and for the Senate to act and get a repeal and replace bill done?
I think it's going to be very hard to change the status quo for 2018 rates. I think that would have been true even if we'd been successful a few weeks ago, because this is the timetable that insurance companies operate on, working with state insurance authorities to approve their rates for the next year. And as you know, just since 2013, we've seen Obamacare exchange rates go up 105%. And unfortunately, we weren't able to act in time to stop that for 2018. But people shouldn't be confused about it. This is Obamacare and the consequences of a failed experiment. Unfortunately, we weren't able to stop it last few weeks, but we're not going to give up, and we're going to stay at it. And do the best we can.
So given that nothing's going to change for the 2018 rates, you still have the debt ceiling that you have to get to, tax reform that is still out there, and so many other issues. And really the legislative calendar is not as long as, maybe the average person would think it is.
Right.
How big of a priority in this year, in 2017, how big of a priority is it to get a repeal bill done in 2017?
Well, you're correct. We have a lot on our plate, and it would have been better to deal with this earlier, but we were unable to do so. So while we're continuing to tackle the health care problem, there will be hearings that convene beginning, I believe, on September the 6th on stabilizing the individual insurance markets, which have been, as I say, in meltdown as a result of Obamacare. But we are then going to also have to double track tax reform, the debt ceiling. We have the Defense Authorization Bill and other important issues, the Federal Aviation Administration reauthorization, the Children's Health Insurance Program. All of these things have a deadline of September the 31st, so we're going to have to work very hard to get those done.
Do you think health care or Obamacare gets repealed and replaced in 2017?
I think until we can find a way to bring some Democrats on board or convince the 3 Republicans who voted against the proposal to come on board, it's going to be very difficult. It's beyond disappointing. As you know, we've made this commitment to our supporters and our constituents for several years now, several elections, and to be unable to or to come up short by 1 vote was very disappointing. But as I said, we can't give up. This isn't going to go away, and I think it's important not just for 49 senators to demonstrate their commitment to keep their promise to repeal and replace Obamacare, but to continue to work on it and try to find a way to build the critical mass we need in order to get as much done as we can get done, given the arithmetic.
The president has called out Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. According to the New York Times, those two don't have a great relationship right now. The New York Times reporting that the Senate Majority Leader had said that he doesn't think that the president can save his presidency. Have you heard those concerns from Mitch McConnell? And is the tone from the White House and, well, quite frankly, from the president himself, is he losing friends in the U.S. Senate, in your opinion, and does that harm his legislative agenda moving forward?
Well, I certainly can't confirm stories without sources attributed in the New York Times, but I do know Mitch McConnell, and I know him to be a consummate professional. He's going to do what he needs to do in order to move the Senate forward and to work to support the president to pass his agenda. The president is impatient, and I get that, and we all are impatient. But the checks and balances that were designed in our Constitution to protect our freedoms by design made it hard to get things done, and it requires us to build consensus. Sometimes that takes time. And so I know the president is impatient, but I don't think it's helpful to engage in the circular firing squad. I think we ought to try to redouble our efforts as a team to try to work with the president and the president work with us to get things done. And I'm confident that we can do that.
We're visiting with U.S. Senator John Cornyn here on the show. And one more thing that I want to get to before I let you go, Senator, it's about NAFTA. You and Senator Ted Cruz, I believe you're both, neither of you want to leave NAFTA. And Senator Cruz, I know, said that it would be a mistake to do so. The president has said, hey, maybe we'll terminate, we'll terminate NAFTA. We won't have NAFTA anymore. Obviously, that would be a disagreement between the 2 senators from Texas and the president. Talk a little bit about that, and then also how exiting NAFTA would impact the state of Texas, if you will.
Well, right now, Chad, the trade we do with Mexico and the United States, that binational trade supports 5 million jobs in the U.S., not just in Texas, but throughout the country. And it would be a shame to have a dramatic negative impact. It understands that. The people he's nominated and have been confirmed as U.S. Trade Representative and Secretary of Commerce have told me and have said publicly that their approach to renegotiating NAFTA was to first do no harm. But given the fact that different sectors of our economy have changed a lot in the last 20 years, like the digital economy, like the energy sector, it's important to update it. And so I think that's what will happen. I think I don't know whether the president thinks that this increases his negotiating leverage or not, but I think, fundamentally, the president's not going to be able to do this unilaterally. It would have to be with the okay of Congress, and I believe that we will modernize and update NAFTA, and I think the president will be pleased with the outcome.
Senator Cornyn, appreciate your time. Are you looking forward to getting back up to D.C.?
Well, I'm enjoying my time here in Texas. I'm heading to San Antonio right now, and then to Fort Worth, Wichita Falls, and up Dallas. And so I'm enjoying my time here. I'm not in any hurry to get back to D.C.
I understand that. Senator, as always, appreciate your time, and
Thanks a lot,
we'll
Chad.
visit with you when you get back to D.C.
Okay, thanks a lot.
That's U.S. Senator John Cornyn here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO. We'll be right back.